From the southernmost point of Dorne to the lands of always winter, and what is west of Westeros and the shadows in the east, and tonight, at the foot of the Stepstones, this is Casterly Talk. I'm Ken Napzok for our deep dive discussion on episode 3 of House of the Dragon, second of his name, directed by Greg Yaitanes, directed last week's episode, and he'll be back for episode 10. The writers, the credited writers, always a lot of names, a lot of hands in the kitchen, so to speak, but Gabe Finesca and showrunner Ryan Condal, who as of right now, well, you can call him the solo showrunner, but for this season, Miguel Sapochnik did have a lot to do with it. This we know. We can talk about that news some other time. We're talking about the episode, and with me tonight, or for this episode, you're not necessarily listening or watching at night. We know this. It's Alden Diaz and Andres Cabrera, Ace in the place. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Ace, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, Rachel last week. I mean, I don't know if I can keep up with that.
Oh, yeah, come on. I mean, the dream team is when you're both here. Rachel's actually out of town, and Lauren Roma's going to be on this show to break down stuff too, and she's sick, so we're gathering more names to come in here, but don't you worry about that. But Alden and Andres are here with me tonight, let's just dive in. But first, as always, I like to do a little summary of what the episode kinda is. Just getting it all out there on the table. 3 years have passed since Viserys announced that he would be marrying Alicent Hightower, and the realm is ready to celebrate the name day of Viserys' firstborn son, Aegon, the second of his name. Daemon Targaryen is still off in the Stepstones, struggling to make his worth, along with Corlys Velaryon, in the way out there on the Stepstones with the Crab Feeder and the Triarchy. Of course, Rhaenyra, the Princess of Dragonstone and named heir to the Iron Throne, is barely suppressing a rage against traditions that seem to constrict her more and more, reducing her to a pawn in her father's rule and giving her less and less agency. Viserys is out for a lavish kingly hunt, one that George R. R. Martin is probably saying, yeah, that's the hunt I wanted in season 1 of Game of Thrones. This is the one. The power players around him begin to close in just as he tries harder to make everyone happy, leaving him feeling soul-crushing doubt about his past visions of his son's rightful place. Rhaenyra, Viserys, Daemon, 3 Targaryens lost in the fires of personal tribulation. How will they emerge is kind of the big theme here tonight. Gentlemen, an overall look at this episode. Alden, I'll start with you. What are you feeling about episode 3, second of his name?
I am in love with this episode. I was telling you guys just before we started that this, for me, recency bias. Yeah. Like getting all those, things out of the way. I acknowledge that. But at the same time, riding so high off of this, as if I too was raining fire upon the pirates on the Stepstones and upon the Crab Feeder and his many crucifixions. I think that this episode is an all-timer for me across the entire on-screen canon. Just including this as a season of the overall screen Ice and Fire song. I think that this is it's everything that it could have wanted. It's part psychological thriller when you're out there and everybody's having to reconcile with their souls, with the world around them. You've got the animal symbolism, all these choices. I mean, Paddy Considine giving one of the best single episode performances across this entire journey and adventure and world. What an actor. And then that last fourth, the war movie that is made, the Daemon Targaryen Power Hour. He bookends the episode and he never has a line. And Matt Smith went to the redeemed Ben Solo school of I don't need a line. Yeah. And it's incredible.
I love that. Great point that no lines actually spoken by Daemon Targaryen. Targaryen. I almost made him a new name. It's a new relationship name. Targaryen. I'll kick it to Ace here in a second, but this is one of those episodes that I just keep buying tickets for, right? This is why I keep coming back to the show. The battle, the music, the stakes, the personal growth, the juicy intrigue combined with the cracked, dirty mirror that reflects our darker selves back at us. That's why we come to this world. You got other properties for different feelings. Like we said, talking about Rings of Power. No need to compare them. No need to pit the shows against each other. One's a stack of pancakes. One's an omelet. They're both breakfast. Let's just enjoy breakfast. And this is one of the episodes I enjoyed. Greg Yaitanes setting the bar high so far. And I think you can put his name up there with some of the directors whose names will live on in Game of Thrones lore. More to come this season from him. Excited about that. It's graduation day for Rhaenyra, Daemon, and Viserys the First. So a lot to unpack there. But Andres, want to get your overall thoughts on this episode and where you're at with it.
Yeah, I feel like I might not be as high as Alden is, but I feel like overall it felt like 2 episodes, right? Are
Yeah.
very purposeful, right? Where it's
Mhm.
one half is Rhaenyra and Viserys, and then the other half is obviously the Stepstones battle and Daemon. Even though we got so much symbolism throughout this episode, like a crap ton of symbolism.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like there was just as much symbolism at the end with the battle with Daemon that there was in the beginning with the Stag and the White Hart and Rhaenyra and Viserys. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But it definitely felt like 2 episodes. That's probably my only critique. And I don't know if that's a critique necessarily. It just felt like I was like, oh, okay. One thing, next thing, which is an interesting thing they did.
No, I don't agree with that. I mean, sorry, I do agree with that. I don't disagree with you at all. In terms of the two feelings, the 2 episodes, and how they play with each other might be what this is all about. And what's interesting on a rewatch, I didn't have as much time tonight between the second watch or the first watch and this episode recording session, so I just kind of had that. I had to do that little skip thing. Okay, this scene's a little long. I didn't want to see. I love the hunt. There's symbolism of the hunt. I don't need to see a stag brutally murdered too many times, or even a boar. So I just skipped that. I love animals too much. But then I got to the fight, and I realized the battle. I should say. I was like, oh, this is longer than I remember the first time. I thought we got a good 10-minute sequence. No, you're right, Ace. It's a second part of the show. It's almost its own stage play. So I don't think you're wrong about that. We're gonna unpack it. All right. Let's do this, though, with big moments. A lot of big moments. I'm just going to run through some of the things, and then we can dive in tonight here. We got, I mentioned up top, and this is something the creators and writers and directors were talking about here, of the, I called it graduation day, but rebirth. There's a image of rebirth at the end with Daemon Targaryen. This is Rhaenyra, Viserys, and Daemon emerging sort of anew and sort of a new version of themselves going forward in the story, and that's very clear. It's one of those things that's not even the subtext. It's the text, especially when Daemon walks out at the end covered in blood. It's a rebirth. But other things going on. Otto making moves, selling Aegon II as if one fated to be ruled. The ruler, Alicent Hightower, working within the system as she always does, but not for herself. And is that to come is kind of the big question, the thing that hangs over her that we might not get to later. This great scene with Alicent and Viserys. The idea of sending help to the Stepstones and asking him, what do you believe? Because no one else actually seems to want to ask the king that. And the great question, is it better if the crab feeder thrives or is vanquished? We got the Viserys kind of admitting his truth. I named her heir to protect the realm from Daemon. He's haunted by visions and dreams and making choices based on those visions and dreams and the realm and others, asking himself, what if I was wrong? And he's dealing with that in this the hunt, the dueling hunts, the king's lavish hunt, and Rhaenyra kind of killing the boar on her own, the anger, the rage coming out there, but also letting the White Hart go. So what does that stag mean for her? More importantly, what does it say and mean for her to let it go? And then we get into, as Ace pointed out, almost an entire separate play, the Stepstone and Daemon's rebirth, but the themes are going to connect with each other there. So Andres, we'll start with you. What are some of the big things that jump out, and where do you want to go with your discussion points tonight?
Oh, no. I have control, giving me the wheel of the ship.
It's the theme for the episode. What do you want to do?
It's okay. Just pretend to surrender and then come in hot right at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Pull out my knife. Let's do it. I'm gonna pull out my knife and go right to the end with Daemon and the Stepstones, because I feel like this is something that I feel like if they've been building up anything as much as any other storyline since episode 1, it's this, right? We heard about the crab feeder almost at the very first speaking line in this entire show. It's like one of the first things that's spoken in the council. So I feel like that's a very important thing to kind of close this chapter, but also dive into what the chapter was actually about. What were they actually trying to say when it comes to this storyline? And I felt like it just delivered. Seeing Daemon in action, seeing Corlys Velaryon in action, and finally, a full disclosure, Sea Smoke is my favorite dragon, and seeing Sea Smoke in action had me screaming, wailing, just like I was watching a UFC fight. I was like, let's go, let's go. And Laenor Velaryon too, which is cool.
I'm gonna let you keep going there. I want to jump in. That's great clarification for a lot of folks. This is Sea Smoke, not Caraxes, and Laenor is a dragon rider. Excellent point. Good clarification point there too. Ace, do continue with all the stuff that's going on here.
It was just so satisfying. It was so satisfying to see Sea Smoke, Laenor, the Velaryons in action, right? Because I feel like the Velaryons, again, we get so much of them being teased throughout different episodes, as far as Corlys explaining his background last episode and trying to get Laena married to the king and all this kind of stuff that everyone was kind of raising their eyebrows out. But now we see them in action. Now we see them have dragon riders. Now we see them team up with Daemon, and then Daemon having his moment as far as trying to take on this army by himself and trying to pull out the crab feeder, and then finally vanquishing the crab feeder at the end. It had two connecting pillars that I feel like are super important in House of the Dragon.
Yeah, I love this, and Alden will get you in here. But this idea of him kind of, you could call it a fake surrender. They talked about, hey, they need some meat to get the crab feeder out, but it's really an emotional surrender. Him giving up maybe his pursuits of worth, all those kind of things. You could take it a lot of different ways. Of course, we're going to discuss that, and then fighting his way out of that and fighting his way forward, so to speak. But to the Velaryons, this is an excellent point, Andres, because this is an episode in which you got Lord Strong saying, who'd be a good, partner for Rhaenyra is this real powerful family from Old Valyria as well. And we've heard that, but now I think we see it. We see it in their heart. We see it in their passion. We see it in their skills, and we see it in their might. So I thought it was a great kind of party for the Velaryons as well. So great stuff there. Alden, get in there. What do you think about this end fight, and also at the beginning?
Well, I think the end fight sort of crystallizes this theme that's been happening throughout. There's many characters. I will give, I'm not sure if she'll fit in as much in some of these huge points. So I'll start by saying, Alicent, I love you. Yeah. And I've been your defender. Not that anyone on Casterly Talk has been anti-Alicent, but I just love you, you sweet thing being taken advantage of by the world. But this entire journey for this trinity of Targaryens, brothers and then daughter, or niece, and the way that everybody is struggling to affect the world around them. But what I realized with all of them that I loved is that they're all struggling with this idea that the people that I wish loved me only love me on their terms. Daemon loves his brother all the time. His brother only loves him sometimes. And I think that it's not just when he brutally attacks the messenger for that message that aid is coming, a positive message. It's on that first level. This was supposed to be us, the second sons, getting our moment. Don't try to steal it. But I think deep down, same as their throne room clash in the first episode, it's the you only love me when you want to. And I love you all the time. Rhaenyra loves her father all the time, and she feels now that she is selectively positioned. That she feels that my ascension to the status of heir was a move by my father, and it was, which he admits when he's finally there, drunk before the fire. And then Viserys sort of has that with everyone. Everyone loves Viserys when they want something. Everybody loves Viserys when they think they have the best idea, but the second that he does something that's not what they think is best, particularly Otto and his council, the Lannisters, we get our first Lannisters here, as he says later on, I can't do any decision without incurring the wrath of some other party. Can't remember the exact quote, but that entire idea of everybody just wanting to not be a participant, which I think is very universal. That everybody, like, you feel like your life's out of control, and like that you're watching your own life happen. That I think is happening to all of these people.
I love that. I love what you're saying there too. Just this kind of the love you give and the love you receive, and the difference between the two, and how that could affect you. Rhaenyra at the beginning of the episode in the carriage says, "No one is here for me," and that's true, and that's true for all these characters. Yeah, and going back to the Daemon thing here, he gets this message. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's like if Ace sent me a text and was like, "Hey, I'm out of gas. Can you fill up my card?" I was like, here's a gift certificate to Pep Boys. Good luck getting there. It's a little bit of an effort, but I'm not all here for you. And combine that with the beginning. I love the beginning. The opening is great, where you see that the crab feeder sets him up as this, puts him over as this villain. We want to take out. You see, if we've seen some of the brutal stuff already, but the sea captain spewing the words of hate at him, and his prince, my prince is here to save me, and Caraxes squishes him. Daemon's not there to save anyone. He's there for himself. He's there to kind of prove something else, and so that's kind of the the positioning of it there, the difference there. Andres, your thoughts are on this idea of just Damon wanting to be loved all the time, and this fight being how he kind of gives that pursuit up, maybe.
I almost saw that scene. Maybe I read it wrong, but I felt like that scene was also like, oh crap, like my time is running out. If I don't take down this crab feeder myself, it's going to be embarrassing. And now all of a sudden reinforcements are coming. I don't want your help. I don't need your help. I can do this on my own. So let me do this on my own accord, grab my sword, and literally go one-on-one against this entire army if I have to. If that's what I have to do to make sure and establish my name as something worthy and as something powerful, then I'm going to have to do it. Because if I get help, I'm going to look weak. So I have to do this on my own. So I felt like that was him being like, oh, timeline has just gotten shorter. I got to speed it up. I got to go there right now. I'm going on the boat.
Yeah.
So
I think you're absolutely. I don't think you misread at all. I think it's a combination of all here. All what Alden's saying about this love and this idea. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I went there to prove my worth. We get the flashback of Corliss saying, "You and I are second sons. This is, the only way we could do this." Corliss having to carve his worth out of the world with his 9 voyages. And so, yeah, I think you're right, Andres. It's this idea of like, oh, this is you're sending me the gift card. And then even if we do win, you're going to hold that over me. It's transactional love. I think you're absolutely right. I think it is. So that's why I look at it as a surrender of self, perhaps, and knowing that I've got to do this myself. Although I don't know if you want to add Damon on his knees there.
It's just, totally a synthesis of what we're all saying. It's all of those things at once, which I love. I love people that are doing things for multiple reasons, that they can say it's one reason. Like Damon's argument so far in the show has been, I was your heir, period. But really, it's the I loved you and you never appreciated me. Like what's happening, and then what's also happening is so Game of Thrones and it's so House of the Dragon so far with a lot of these people. And when you consider what the Battle of the Stepstones is, everybody highlights it as this is the battle that these 2 morons started, these 2 rebels, these 2 people that got into it for themselves. They went into business for themselves to put them, to put their own names on the map. And Corliss, to his credit, I don't know if it's a credit, but he's been at least somewhat truthful about it. He said it at council meetings. This is about the strength of our shipping lanes, our economy, our this and that, everything that he's built. So he's not really trying to hide his motives, that it is a keep Valerian on top, monetarily, financially, economically, politically. But you combine that with Damon's quest, and it's not the Mad King is morally wrong, we must defeat him, for we are the heroes, which ended up being more complicated. I'm not sure if you knew. But there's no the crab feeder stole my wife, or the crab feeder said this. None of that happened. This is exclusively you're messing with my money, and hey, I brought my friend who's really angry.
He's got a dragon pissed off.
Yeah, and Caraxes, I mean, just that opening, that nighttime contrast with the end of the ending is the new dawn, the new day. It's a different sort of visual. The cave visual that happens twice of that rebirth as he happens, but the crab feeder used to be there before. The crab feeder is visually in his spot. He needs to go in there and drag him out. When you get him standing there holding not even a full torso, a 3/4 of a torso and some digestive system, standing there with that, without Caraxes, it's sort of like made me think about what Matt Smith had said about Daemon and Caraxes being one being. Whereas other people go and get their dragons, and that's like a last resort. Daemon's like, I'll go in there dragon, I'll go in there on foot, because I am the guy. Like, he really does buy into his own ethos.
No, great stuff there. Yeah, the image, the night, the darkness, the long dark tea time of the soul, and what emerges on the end. It was pretty powerful there. And side notes, that's fascinating, Andres, that you love Seastorm. Seastorm's his cousin, the dragon. He doesn't have fire. He just hangs around and smokes cigarettes. What draws you to that dragon?
I think it's the way it's described in the book as being silver. That's already like dope. A silver dragon with a very long wingspan, and then it happens to be almost like the perfect blend of what House Velaryon and House Targaryen are. The sea the fire and the blood, it feels like that's the perfect fusion of what a dragon is that belongs to House Velaryon, which is that fusion of a Targaryen and a Velaryon. So to me, that's old Valyria. Sea Smoke is like a silver, crazy looking dragon coming out of the fog that represents that. So and Laenor too, and Laenor and House Velaryon, I just appreciate House Velaryon a lot. So
I love Laenor's. Laenor does, like you guys call it on Force Center, Ken, cockpit acting. He does dragon saddle acting. He was
the first time we've seen that too.
He was really in it. He was like, like usually like Daenerys in Game of Thrones, it was
she's always
dread. There was a lot of like darkness. She didn't. She didn't want to be up there until the end. But this was I enjoy this.
Having fun.
He heard Andres cheering for him. He's reacting.
That was actually live.
I cheered harder. I saw someone. Oh, I can't say it. Because it's a spoiler.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Great stuff.
But yes, I feel like Laenor and I just love the idea of a silver dragon, House Velaryon combined with House Targaryen. Like that's the perfect. Even the name Sea Smoke. It's like it's just dope. I love it.
Sea Smoke also sounds like a Bubba Gump shrimp restaurant menu option.
Yeah, I was thinking like a bag of chips. Like a pirate's booty. You buy them right next to pirate's booty. And they're like barbecue.
I want have my salmon sea smoked.
Yeah. Salmon sea smoked. I want to talk about this intersection of kind of Rhaenyra and Viserys, the hunt that's played out here. And I made the joke up top. Yeah, for those who don't know, season 1, the fateful hunt of King Robert Baratheon taken out by a boar. We also get a boar in this hunt, in this episode, at least. Famously, they didn't have the budget to make the hunt like this one. It would have been the same. This is what a kingly hunt is like in the world here, especially in George R. R. Martin's eyes. And George has been on record as it's the one scene from season 1 I just can't stand because we had like 5 dudes strolling, drinking Coors Light, walking through the forest. And it wasn't supposed to be. So this is more, it's an event. It's a yearly event. It's what they do. It's the King's Hunt. And all the way through this, all this stuff going on with Viserys, up until even where we can talk about the prophecy, the visions, and the meaning of it, but just watching him all through this episode up until his breaking point. It's bootlickers. It's conniving power players. He can't even step off the horse. He can't even kill the stag. It is a gift from Jason Lannister, who looks a lot like Hugh of the Vale. We'll point out because it is. And nothing is in his control. He is the most powerful man in the world, and he can't do anything. It's nothing is on his own, and no one's. That's why that scene with Alicent is going. What do you feel about this? It's so powerful, and it's telling of Alicent, not only the game she's playing, but who she is, true of heart, which is what Viserys is. So take that and then combine it with what we saw with Rhaenyra running off on her own. Kristen Cole, her Kingsguard, who they seem friendly. They go. She experiences this boar attack. Does Kristen Cole gets a sword shot in, but she kind of does it herself, so to speak, by losing her temper, all the rage coming out, justifiable rage, stabbing the hell out of this boar, and then dragging it back into the camp like a badass, covered in blood, going, "Dinner's on me tonight." There's just doing it for herself. I love this intersection. That's my opening rant monologue on it there. What do you think about all this hunting? And you can get into the prophecies of Stag and the White Hart, all the stuff in here too.
Well, I mean, I feel like the connection. I mean, you guys already. It's been said. The connection between Daemon and Rhaenyra, both establishing these moments, was a very powerful thing, and it's a very clear thing. It's not like you said; it's very obvious. Yeah. But I love the scene of her coming back with the boar and getting those looks. It's part shock. It's part like respect. It's part like damn. Like it's all this combination of these kind of stuff. So I feel like Rhaenyra is really the character that is that the entire show is established on. She has probably the most heart, and as well as having a well-rounded idea of what it is to be a ruler as far as establishing her own accord and her own actions. Like you said, being a king, everything is given to you. Nothing is required for you to take it on your own. So her taking it on her own and realizing she's a woman, she has to take everything on her own. Nothing's gonna be given to her, especially in this world that she lives in. So that is probably the most powerful moment for her so far.
Yeah. A lot of stuff here about agency, a lot of stuff about her, the traditions. I do want to at some point talk about what I think one of the big themes that kind of has been emerging in this show, but definitely this episode, of the constrictions of these traditions. Traditions aren't necessarily bad by themselves, but the past and history and the weight is just kind of suffocating all the individuals that play here. But Alden, your thoughts on the hunt of it all?
Yeah, I mean, building off what you just said, Andres, about the ability to do it yourself and to be able to actually take. Whereas, they've got this stag and they're like, it's not the one we promised, but we're all going to clap when you kill it anyway. Where she,
Good job, King. Good job.
Look at that. It took him 2 stabs. Weak.
But
But the whole idea that she has this boar, something that she expresses before they even get there, makes her uncomfortable. The squeals of a boar, and how you're going to have to make the choice to lean into what makes you uncomfortable because the world's going to make you anyway. And she had that one stab, and then all the other stabs are just for her. And all the other stabs are just that's for being ignored. That's for not being listened to at the small council. That's for her dad's cousin dunking on her as still being a cupbearer. That's for by the tree in one of my favorite scenes in all of Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. Her and Alicent with the bard, Samuel the bard or squire, whatever his actual job is, of the princess commands that you stay, the queen commands that you leave, and how they're outdoing each other with their roles. Station is such a big thing here, and Kristen Cole touches on that later with his, House Cole. Me being a Kingsguard is the biggest thing that ever happened to House Cole. We were nothing, and how that plays in. But she's fighting for any bit of a role, and I love things that are. I love it when shows and books and movies give us a scene that's a microcosm of the entire relationship. We're all 3 of us Star Wars guys. You look at the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, Obi-Wan and Anakin training right before Attack of the Clones is their whole relationship. That's why you put it there. It's the microcosm. We've been fighting the same battle since it was friendly, but it's the same battle. You show these 2 young women by the tree, and there's a broken, messed up love there now that you're my stepmom. Awkward. But also the whole situation of Alicent's like, I'm just trying to reach you as a human being. And you're pushing me to use the queen card. I don't want to, but God, I will. And that gets to that really interesting sort of groundwork that's going to be the whole thing.
Yeah. Andres, you were, and I love that, Alden. I love that scene too. And it's somewhat tragic to see where they begin, all, studying and friendly and real close. And if society would just let them be, they might have fallen in love and been 2 queens ruling the land, right? That's what I really do believe, that some of the stuff going on there. But Andres, that scene, and then you said, and I think there's some truth. We might know some book, Fire and Blood book readers and lore history buffs might know where some of this goes, and there's some thoughts on Rhaenyra, and there's a lot of thoughts on Alicent and where the characters go, but we have to put that aside when discussing the show because we don't know exactly all the points they're going to hit. I going back to what you're saying, Andres, I think you're right. I think she's positioned at the center of this, but Alicent's right there with her, and it's how both of them are dealing with each other and this land and this role. What are your thoughts on Alicent right now versus Rhaenyra, who you I think are correctly saying she's centered very much in this story?
I'm so curious. I don't know if I'm going to answer the question by asking another question, but I'm so curious where Alicent is going in the stories necessarily when it comes to what we know she is in the book. Because in the book, she's very much like a little bit similar to Otto. She's like a go-getter. She knows what she's doing. She's pointing things out. She's trying to like manipulate certain situations and scenarios, and she's working the game and working the system just like everyone else. And she's kind of doing that for sure in the show, but she's much more sincere, and she uses a lot more from the heart, and you can feel like she has a lot of emotion and a lot of heart for Viserys, regardless of whatever the intentions were from her father. It still feels like she still has this heart that is absolutely sincere, that she wants to use as something that differentiates herself from her father.
I love that, and Alden, to bring in on that there. You said something, Andres, that I loved, and I'm pulling some stuff out of it there. Of you've got an actor right now, Emily Carey, and they're just taking a big bite of this role. We know Olivia Cook's coming a little bit later on, and I'm fascinated. And on a audio only version this week, I released one of our dedicated longtime listeners, Tamor, checked in just with some great questions about Allison and what she might want, and I think there's something, because yes, I'm familiar with Fire and Blood. I've read it. I know kind of the history, and we've even gone, the press going into this was Allison's not unlike Cersei Lannister, but then also don't pigeonhole her as a villain. We're going to see how she might get to that spot where she makes some tough decisions. Yeah. Emily Carey right now is inserting so much heart and sincerity, like Andres is saying, Alden, that I just I might know some of the facts, but I just want to know how it plays out, how that heart is going to deal with some of the tough stuff that's still coming down the line.
It's an interesting thing, right? And so much of it is your viewing experience, like it always is. Our mutual friend Alex Backus always calls it the chemistry of your viewing experience. It changes everything. So if you're already endeared to this performance, you're going to find things. But one of the things that I found was she is the only person to not refer to him as your grace. She changes it to my love. And it's when he's drunk standing there by the fire and she says, my love. And it, with that Cersei comparison in my mind, when Cersei calls Robert Baratheon my love, it's a duty thing. I'm playing the wife. I'm in pain. This is awful. They are both coming from places. Their comparisons are functional, right? That comparison to me is functional. They are both young women used as pawns by their fathers to get into higher station. But Cersei latches on to bitterness, and Alicent so far is latching on to some hope that she might be able to iron things out and that they can be the Targaryen Hightowers, like that can be a functional thing. I think she still has some of that youthful hope in her, that desire for a unified front that Otto clearly is not interested in, and he keeps using her kindness against her, but she is devastated and heartbroken. I mean, some of the small looks just inside of the camp at the hunt, inside of the big tent that they set up for dining and everything, seeing the way that she's not sitting up there with Viserys. There is no second seat.
Right.
And she's over here with the ladies of whom she was thrown into. And then she also wasn't walking around. I mean, she is very pregnant, but she's not walking around with Rhaenyra, who will dunk on the old ladies and will let her truth be known. Like, what do you do except eat cake? Shout out to that little pug. Pugs are canon.
Great pug. Pugs are in this world.
Pugs are canon in this world. There were quite a few different dogs. I was very happy to see all of them. I hope they all thrived and were fed pork. But the way that she is sitting there as a participant, again, in both her husband's life and her former best friend's life, it's devastating. So I think that it's a comparison that makes sense, and I get why people say it, especially because Olivia Cook, said I auditioned with Lena Headey's lines. But yeah, it's really sad. So to build on what you said, Andres, like, where is she going? I think that they're all tragedies in a way. I mean, Viserys, not to completely launch us into a different topic, but I mentioned the chair. Viserys here, I think, highlights and underlines, and the staging and the directing, the set design itself, underlines what Game of Thrones was saying at the end when Drogon burned the Iron Throne. Like, there's all this suspicion, and we've seen him get cut by it now 2 episodes prior. But in this one, he's in a completely different chair, but still the seat of the king, still unhappy. It has nothing to do with this prophesized chair. It's about people. It has always been about people. Yeah,
we're going to get to that great stuff there. No, and even going back to your point, Ace, of just like, an actor comes in, writers, directors, producers, but an actor comes in and takes some thoughts to set and breathes not new life, but different life into the character. We saw that with Shay, right? George R. R. Martin's been on the record many times that Sybil Kikili is the one that changed the way he viewed his own character in a lot of ways. He's talked about always hearing Aidan Gillen's voice when writing Baelish now, and that's, the way it's going to be. But that's a great example where she might be doing that. We'll see where it ends up. And Olivia Cook comes in an episode or two and is going to take it in the direction she goes. But I just think it's a great observation, Ace, that there's such warmth and sincerity in Alicent that's sometimes maybe not on the page, right? And this is what's fun about watching it play out. Looking here, I want to talk to you guys about the scene with I loved the exchange with Kristen Cole and the connection between them. there's some heat. We know this, but also there's a real, warmth and intimacy between them in terms of just being able to talk. And I love that scene. It was a great little moment where everything, because this show's not been shy in what it's saying about this patriarchal system, what it's doing to not just the women, but let's not forget the less fortunate of the land, right? I still love that scene last week with Massaria. I loved it. I heard some people talking about it, and maybe not everyone loved it, but I just loved what was the core of that scene with Damon, where she's like, I know you think you're strong, you can protect me, I get it, but I didn't come to you for all this power. I came for you to remove fear from me, and you unknowingly, this man of privilege and power, put me in danger. And so you got a lot of justifiable rage, justifiable, just anything Rhaenyra's feelings justified. But I love that she points that out. But Kristen Cole reminds her of her own position and privilege, which she says, well, no one's been in this, so they don't know my troubles. And again, she's not wrong. We know this, but I love that he points at, like you said earlier, Alden, without you, I'd marry a common woman, and maybe I'd be happier. But you gave me station. That's your power, your privilege, and that makes me think, what's Rhaenyra going to do with that? Because at that moment, she starts to realize, I think, who she needs to fight for, remind of her true place, and she's first on the list, maybe, and then the rest she can do some other kind of things for her realm. Again, wondering where they take that. I wonder if you guys have any thoughts about Kristen Cole here.
No, I think that what you just said about how she's saying nobody's been in my position, nobody understands what I'm going through, like she says in the carriage right there, no one's there for me, and she's going on and on and on. Then you have this guy saying, you know how many people out there would kill to be in your position, or would love to be in your position, whatever the quote was. And the best thing about this, again, is that both are true. And it's something that I remember having that realization that I'm sure you both had as a kid. Andres, having a Latin family, you sit down for dinner, you don't eat all your food, they get on you if you don't eat all that food, right? And then sometimes your mom and dad remind you that there are starving children other places that don't have that food. And while that's true, it still doesn't make sense to the child that they're being forced to eat it. And it still doesn't change the way that you feel, the fact that other people are suffering. And they're both true. Other people are suffering, and that is bad. But at the same time, I'm here and I don't want to eat this food. And that's my immediate problem. And it's very hard to reconcile a worldly view with a very personal view. And I think that that's something that they're all struggling with. Viserys' whole thing is trying to reconcile a worldly view with a kingly view, with a personal view. Otto has that moment where he tells him, you're the king. She'll do as you command. And he's like, I don't want to command. I'm not in the business of commanding my kid. I didn't want that to be the way that my life went. So.
Great stuff there. I was going to make a joke about being raised Russian and being told doesn't count. I have made it. There we go.
You were like, I'll give you the idea, the premise of the joke.
My grandparents were Ukrainian and Circassian. I was constantly reminded to eat because there's no food back in the old country. I'm like, well, I'm not in the old country, which I was maybe a spoiled kid. But Andres, I cut out your time there. I'm sorry. What are your thoughts? Any thoughts on Kristen Cole? What he's saying, this position of power and privilege conversation?
You know what I like about the Rhaenyra Kristen Cole relationship so far is that this entire episode almost kind of sets up this intimate moment. And by intimate, I mean like more intimate. And yet it never goes there. It feels like a much more emotional and almost station-like respect that Rhaenyra has towards Kristen, where she's not necessarily so much attracted to just his looks, which in the books, it feels like that's what it is initially. But here it's like she's attracted to who he is as a person, his honor, his respect, him coming from a common house, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Establishes a connection there that makes it feel a lot more sincere than it would be a teenage girl having a crush on a random guy who she thinks is hot.
Right. She loves an underdog. Yeah. She loves the underdog story, I think, of Kristen. I think that she fancies herself. I mean, she wants to go across the sea and eat cake all day and have an adventure. And I think that she likes the fact that she got to have a part in like this new young knight who comes from nothing. I think she romanticizes that a lot.
Yeah, and plus not for nothing, not for nothing. He's hot, so there you go. That's not there. That's not there. It's he sees her as her, right? Not as the heir. He's got to protect her as the heir and the princess. But I think what I gather from this is there's been 3 years of him seeing Rhaenyra as Rhaenyra, and she absolutely.
And when the other guy is Jason Lannister and his scene with her, that there's a great contrast that happens there on many levels. I'm a lower born. I'm a man of color. I am this, that, and the other thing, underdog story, X, Y, and Z. And here comes white money squared. There's two of them over here, who we know will one day be in Valerian's spot as the wealthiest and et cetera, et cetera. And his whole thing is, well, let me talk to you for 45 seconds and then declare my plans. Zero emotional intuition whatsoever.
Jefferson Hall is the performer doing both roles. I thought he was great in that he kind of made your skin crawl like a Lannister already. We're kind of rooting against him. But also he is Sir Hugh of the Vale from season 1 of Game of Thrones. And at first I remember, I forgot he was cast in it, and his face popped up here in the episode with Thailand. And I thought, that's kind of a weird decision. But then Game of Thrones has a history of making interesting casting decisions or reusing an actor every now and then. Tommen comes. So I don't know. I liked it a lot. I love that scene too. Yeah, it is the two opposites here. What's she's going on, and I love the moment where she's just immediately like, "Cool, thanks for the drink, you douche. I'm getting out of this party."
And that he like really planned that line too. He's like, I'm gonna sail a dragon pit. And then she's going to say, why do you need a dragon pit? And I'm going to seal the deal. And it's so lame. I hate them.
These are we've got to fight men like these. We got to clear our ranks of men like these. Is what I think.
Truthfully, I'm rooting for the younger strong with the bad leg. That's who I'm rooting for. It seems like a normal guy.
Laris,
Laris.
Yeah, absolutely. Andres, sorry. You got some thoughts there?
I mean, I can't get into it because it's in the book, but I'm just curious what they're going to do when it comes to the relationships of Rhaenyra in the future, and I feel like that's a major thing because I'm definitely curious if they'll change it. I never had that doubt until this episode and the preview for next episode,
right?
But after seeing that, I'm just like, maybe they'll change some things.
Because there's a lot of speculation without getting into it. Fire and Blood will be like, maybe her first, intimate encounter was this, but it also could have been this. Anyway, moving on. Like they do a lot of that with Mushroom and all.
Mushroom. A lot of it comes from Mushroom, who is, understandably not part of this show.
Did you think for even a second that bard was Mushroom? Did it cross your mind when you saw him?
No. But maybe what we have about a little under 10 minutes left in tonight's recording session here, so I want to get to one of the big things that's at play this episode, and this idea of fate and destiny. Viserys always with the dreams. He's a toy collecting, dream weaving fool, and I do love him for it. I do love him for him there. And this idea that he's already talked about a lot of visions. Again, this is like, much like Rhaenyra's like, I get it. You and mom met when you were 10 and 7. I did 10, 17 years old. I get it. There's a lot of that, but there's got to be some of these people rolling their eyes. They're like, Viserys in his dreams, man. This guy's just he's just too much with it. But what it means and prophecies and dreams in this story and in this world are always talked about, always discussed, and how you react to them. I love what's going on here because this hunt scene, this brutal killing of the stag, it's not the stag, right? It's not the White Hart stag. He goes through this thing, and there's this relief. And Ryan Condolin, I think, was talking about it too after the show, of there's a relief. Like, I had this vision, and the white stag, this might mean my son is supposed to be the one on the throne. It's not him. Oh, good. That vision isn't true. It is going to be Rhaenyra, and he spurns him to make a tougher decision with Rhaenyra, which I think is a little bit more about him doing things for himself. Yeah. But then the stag, the White Hart, is there, and Rhaenyra sees it and lets it go. Kristen Cole pulls out a sword. No, lets him go. I just love this vision, this dream, of what it might mean and how you can interpret those things and make decisions based off what you think fate is telling you to do. And we always believe that destiny is just what brings you to the next big choice. You have to make that yourself. So fascinating stuff. Andres, your thoughts on old Viserys and his dreams?
I mean, this is what he does. Viserys, his
Yeah.
Legos, and his dreams. I
He's
swear,
like talking to his wife, like I was listening to a podcast.
I feel attacked here, Andres. I feel attacked here.
I really wanted to make a meme of someone showing off their Lego set, and it's like, yo, this is how I bag my girl, showing off this Lego. It's like a huge Lego connection. I think there's like a bunch of TikToks on that, but
This is a Lego set of where my grandpa used to live. It's awesome.
But I feel like there's also a self-awareness to who Viserys is, right? I feel like he has this self-awareness where he feels like, I'm a Targaryen. I can be either a psycho or a good, sturdy king. And he's trying so hard to be that good, sturdy king and to not be that psycho. So I feel like the dreams are another example of him to try and avoid certain decisions and to try and avoid the past. I feel like maybe Maegor might be crawling into his head as far as like an example of what he doesn't want to be. And he wants to be much more Jaehaerys. And I feel like those dreams are something that he kind of grasps onto to really try and be like, this is what I want to try and shape and mirror my life around, and not a negative aspect of what the Targaryens can be.
I think that's great. Lego sets and all. I think that's a great look at it. A lot going on in that head of his. And, he does end up, Alden, in a spot where he says to Rhaenyra, you will not be supplanted. And I believe he means it. A lot's going to happen. And there might be a lot that he's not around for, as he even says in this episode. I'm not going to live forever. But your thoughts on this stuff? Because I'm fascinated by this idea. We all have those ideas of, I have a gut feeling I should do this. And that's really a decision. That's a choice you make. And then how much do I'm called to do this? And where's the line of, taking it too far, believing your own hype, or misreading things and making the situation worse for yourself? A lot going on in that head of Viserys, including the Legos.
Yeah, I mean, it's a burden to feel like you have to dissect everything, right? Like he is now seeing this brown stag, this, still impressive, still everyone will clap, but it's a compromised situation in and of itself, because for however many days they were there, it kind of looks like 2 days, they were all about this idea of Otto Hightower and the scouts having seen the white stag and everything and what that meant. And before Dragons, it was this. And for those of you playing at home, after Dragons, it will be the stag again. And a little irony there for them. But it's the idea that, it's this brown one. And once again, you've all given me something that was kind of not what you sold me. And I will still engage in it. And I will try to find this message in it. It's like, I understand totally what Condell's saying about relief. And who am I to argue with the man that wrote it? But I would add to that, it's a relief that he has to choose. He has to choose relief after a moment of disappointment. He has a choice between optimism and cynicism, and he makes the active choice to see that moment and say, "Oh, it's brown, but Rhaenyra, that's still good." And a lot of people, and a lot of people, bent the knee, and that's all great, but like he says, I won't always be here. And it's like, buddy, you can swear on Amos' grave all you want, and that's beautiful, and and that's lovely, but it means nothing if the people aren't on the same page as you, and if they're not giving you what you need. And frankly, they're giving you a lot of brown stags, dude, in kind of every way, and not a lot of white stags. And then for her to see it and let it go and choose mercy, she had her moment of rage with the boar. And I think that's her saying, not only do I not want to revisit that low again, that just happened to me the previous evening, but I want to be the one that, I wouldn't say it goes as far as like our boy John 200 Laters. I don't want it. I don't think it's that. She definitely does want it, but I think it's a moment of, it has to be my way. I'm not going to bring in the stag, that way they can all cheer and then shove me out of the way and find a way to clap for my dad and Otto. It's my boar is my boar, even if it's not as impressive as the stag they wanted. I'll bring the small pig before I bring you the glory.
I think we could have titled this episode "Brown Stags and Your Own Personal Boar." I think that's.
I'm a personal boar guy, ladies and gentlemen watching. find your personal bore.
Find your personal bore. It all leads to the final big point here. This episode, as they said after the fact in the post credits inside the episode, which I think are fun to watch. Some people don't like them. I think sometimes they are very, hey, here's the scene. We're going to describe the scene. But I think that helps. I think a lot of people don't watch the shows in that way. But I love what Condell and everyone was kind of saying. I used the term graduation day, which is also a great Chris Isaak song from the late 90s, Graduation Day. Do you guys both think that these characters, and Allison, Otto, they're all there as well? I think there's some great Allison stuff in this episode. By the way, she's the one that kind of gets in the king's ear and makes him go, yeah, you're right. I am going to kind of reaffirm myself and reaffirm my decisions. But do you think Rhaenyra, do you think Viserys the First and Daemon, have they successfully emerged anew? And what do you think that's going to mean for these three characters going forward, especially into next week? Andres?
Yes, I feel like Rhaenyra and Daemon. I keep trying not to spoil things. There's a connection there.
Yes.
And I feel like it's purposeful, showing you these two characters and where they are and where they're coming from, and these two scenes as not just having moments, but also being leaders and rulers, and the different ways to lead and rule. And I feel like that's also very purposeful with these two characters, as far as describing what they are and how they view different situations. So
great stuff.
Yeah, building off of that. Yeah, just building off of that, I'll say they're all, born anew and change, and they've become the roles. They've started to fill the roles that they will fill as we head toward the dance. And Condell says, this is the beginning, or maybe it wasn't Condell, but in that after thing, it says, this is the Daemon that's going to be the Daemon going forward.
Yeah.
When he emerges, and we see a little bit of that in the preview for the next time, it's, the mythic symbol of cutting my hair. He's showing up short hair. I'm the king of the narrow sea now. Didn't you hear? So he has become the Daemon that is the problem that they all feared anyway, even without the Iron Throne. So he's emerged there. Rhaenyra has become the Rhaenyra that will lead and become the central figure of the Blacks. That's what the boar is. That's what dragging that into camp is. I'm here, and now I'm a problem too, in a very rock and roll way. And shout out to the one guy at camp that seemed into it. The one guy at camp that was like, hell yeah. The one progressive guy. And then they let the camera linger on that guy for a second. And then Viserys literally being hungover, and then also a hangover of the soul. The wine was too good. And I think that the wine was the status of king. You're sitting there. That hangover was mean. My man he had maesters in there, standing there when she came in, and he was broken. I think it broke him. He did not enjoy a single moment with his toddler son at this thing. He didn't enjoy any moments with Allison. And I think that he's come back changed for sure.
I wish I had some maesters with me on Saturday mornings going, it's called Hair of the Dog, sir. And drink this down. Love it. Well done. Well said. Yeah, I think the three of them have emerged reborn indeed, in almost quite literally. Rhaenyra and Daemon can exchange covered in blood stories, though Daemon might win this round. Great action, big episode, wonderful music. Ramin Djawadi just absolutely once again setting the tone. The Valarans coming out strong. Allison in a position of power, though she's still constrained by this world. And Otto making some moves in the pressure from his family. A lot there, a lot going forward. We will discuss it when we get there. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. I think I'm just glad to be on an episode and not have my computer go completely haywire. But hey, Alden, you and Rachel had a great discussion about the first 2 episodes of Rings of Power. You can go catch that here on the YouTube channel or the podcast, or you can listen to an audio-only version of me giving my takes on it. Just in case you're one of the 2 people that want to hear that, you can subscribe to us here on YouTube. Give us a like. Hit that subscription notification button. Help us get over 1,000 subs so we can help partner this channel. Don't forget to subscribe, listen to the podcast, and rate and review it wherever you want. Listen to it. You can follow me at Ken Napzok or go to my website, kennapzok.com. Alden, where can they find you, sir?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at that Alden Diaz, talking Star Wars on Octo Radio, also on the One and Done Film Club. Got the Ryan Johnson interview coming up on Podathon September 17th. So look forward to that. Look forward to lots of Andor coverage. And then, continuing to cover both shows here, Rings of Power. Go check that out if you haven't checked out Rings of Power yet. It's not a comparison thing, but go give that a try as well if you're just here as a Thrones fan. And if you ever have the opportunity to talk Tolkien with Rachel Cushing-Levine, you should do that because it is so choice.
It is choice. Andres, you got a lot of things to do. You got to get on out of here, do some more great stuff. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Squad Leader Ace, and First Cut at First Cut on YouTube, and First Cut TMO on Twitter.
Check out Andres. Check out First Cut. He's one of my favorites. Love having him around here. Alden, he's all right. I like that guy too. We're going to keep doing a lot of stuff together here on this channel. Thank you all. We'll see you next week here on Casterly Talk.